Hello and welcome to the Video Game Book Club. This month we read Dead Island by Mark Morris.
Dun dun dun.
Great way to end out the year.
The crap
begin
year
anew.
that was 2021.
This is the novelization of the game Dead Island. Mark Morris stated in a Softpedia news article that having marveled like the rest of the world at the stunning trailer. You remember the trailer?
I do, actually.
Yeah, I absolutely leaped at the opportunity to write the official Dead Island tie-in novel. This rich, exotic world of well-conceived characters, stunning locations, and all-out zombie mayhem. What really attracted me to the project, however, was the fact that behind the non-stop action is a complex and multi-layered plot.
It is very complex. There's a lot of things that happen.
There's a lot of locations.
There's a lot of locations. There's a lot of things that happen. But going back to what you said before with the
trailer.
The trailer came out in 2006 E3.
2006?
Yeah, but the game came out 5 years later.
2011.
So they spent a lot of time on that trailer, and then they had to go back. I think they had to go back and fix the game because of the feedback that they got.
Everyone loved that trailer, and then everyone was mad at Dead Island because it wasn't like the trailer. It wasn't like Last of Us dramatic like the trailer was. It was more like, I'm gonna kick a zombie in the face and then run around,
which is enjoyable.
Which is also enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Dead Island is a fine game.
Yes, it's a great game. This book, however,
so this it's not a great book. I don't think it really does the game justice. In fact, reading it, I didn't want to play the game anymore.
So this game, I really enjoyed the game. We played it quite a few years ago, so I don't fully remember everything that happened, but I did play all 4 characters. So I played this game 4 times because you can play as each of the main characters. It takes you in kind of the same spots, but
there shouldn't be different spots.
No, but more. Some characters the spot is like more important, and you have different side quests. But
I didn't know that.
I believe so. I could be just totally making this up because it's been a long time since I played this game. So, but it's very rare that I will replay a game.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, there's a handful of games that I replay almost every year. Like I play Uncharted.
You've been replaying a lot of games.
Lara Croft, I can't replay.
You replayed all the BioShock. You replayed all the Uncharted.
Game,
you replayed the one Last of Us. Not the second one.
No, I can't. I would never replay Last of Us 2 again.
We just replayed Spyro and Sly Cooper and Jak and Daxter.
Yeah, those are easy games where I'm
Quickies.
Like, yeah. But involved in the storyline, like I get bored if I already know what the storyline is.
Me
so
too.
It's hard for me to replay again. But I did replay this game to play as all 4 characters. So I fully enjoyed this game. I was
Who's your favorite character to play as?
May.
Remember? Oh,
Yes.
Really? The one we played as?
Yes.
Jin May, right?
Jin May, I think that's how you say it. She's the special agent under guard as a hotel receptionist.
Yeah. I heard that she has the least amount of health out of everybody.
I think she kicks ass though.
But like, I don't know. Dead Island's not that hard. So.
But I remember when we first played it, how scary it was because you hear the voices of the zombies behind you and you can't figure out where they are.
They're everywhere.
And then they just like pop out.
And they respawn super fast.
And the big, large zombies, I don't know how else to explain them, but they're so difficult to kill.
I haven't come across them yet, and I don't remember Dead Island at all, so...
Well, they're at the hotel. The person's at the hotel.
I didn't see him yet.
Oh. He's in like the underground bathroom changing clothes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I just lit them on fire.
Yeah.
So, back to this book. So there wasn't an audiobook for this book, so bummer for me, but I did borrow it from openlibrary.org. When you borrow an ebook from them, they have the option to read it aloud. So that was kind of nice. I had a robot read it to me, kind of like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But I didn't have to jerry-rig it so that I could make it an audiobook. It was just available at openlibrary.org for free. So that was
Way
really
to go,
nice.
openlibrary.org. We love that accessibility.
I love it. All free, all great, except a robot was reading it, so they pronounced her name as Puma.
Instead of Perna.
Which was really funny. So we talked about Jin Mei.
Oh, let me before
Oh,
we actually
sorry,
jump
I thought
in,
we-
like
the
let's
back of the
let's read the
book.
synopsis.
That's important.
So Dead Island, which actually has a really cool cover, it's the same cover as the video game. There's for the eye and island, there's a guy hanging from a tree, which I don't remember as being part of the game at all, but it is the cover art. There's a zombie with like paint on him, which I think is supposed to be the tribe that's there, or I don't know, maybe he's just paintballing.
He's just paintballing.
He's got a set of keys on him. He's like on his knees in the front.
It's cool. It looks like concept art.
Yes. So this is the back of The Dead Island by Mark Morris. Welcome to Benoi, a tropical island paradise where you can leave the world behind. Welcome to the Royal Palms Resort, offering its guests from around the world the ultimate in luxury and relaxation. Welcome to the place where your dream holiday is about to become your worst nightmare. Suddenly and without warning, a terrifying plague breaks out on Benoi. Resort guests, hotel staff, islanders are infected overnight and transformed into the ravening, flesh-craving living dead. For those few who for some reason are immune to this apocalypse, it becomes a race against time to survive and get off the island and warn the world before it's too late. But first, they must escape the clutches of the zombie hordes. Welcome to Dead Island, a paradise to die for.
It's funny how the eye is the hanged dude. I didn't even notice that before. From the tree. Like, I saw it back here. Because there's no tree. Interesting. Edgy. Ooh.
So it is set on a mythical island called Benoi. It's from what it's kind of where it's at, and where they say from the game it's by just north of Australia, near Papua New Guinea.
There's a lot of Australians on that island, so I believe it. Yeah. A lot.
Which makes sense because Perna is one of the four main protagonists.
Yes.
And she is Australian. But why someone's like, oh, that's a weird name, and she's like, well, I'm Australian.
Well, she's a, what is it?
She is Aboriginal.
Yes. She's a bodyguard. She used to be a cop, and then she killed a dude.
But she
didn't kill a dude. She grazed a dude, and then she now is a bodyguard for rich people.
She killed that dude.
She didn't. In the game, she said she didn't even kill him.
In the book.
Well, the thing about this book is that it came out around the same time as the game, and I don't think this guy had all the information that he needed, because some names are different than the game.
Some of the facts and the events are different as well. So I think he may have gotten like the first round of information, draft. And then they're like, oh, we're gonna have to edit this a little bit for a world market.
Although I don't know, I feel like he might have went a little buck wild sometimes.
Yeah, it was just a little graphic
liberties.
Yeah,
the audacity of Mark Morris. So yeah, there's Perna, the bodyguard, ex-cop, Australian. There's the receptionist lady.
Yes, May, who is like the world's best martial artist, is what it said in the book. But she is a lady, so she got put on special duty as a receptionist spy.
Yeah, she's pretty pissed about it. Yeah. There's Logan Carter, who is, I wrote, a goddamn douchebag. They really made him the worst in the book. Well, I wrote that specifically because I started the game and I listened to every of the dude's spiels.
He's not that bad in the game.
And he said at the end of he's like, I'm going to prove to the world that Logan Carter is not a goddamn douchebag. And he did not prove that. He still is.
In the book, he's awful. But in the game, like, I thought he was funny. But in the book, he is really, really not funny at all.
He's pretty... they've really made him the worst one.
He is the ex-NFL player who thinks he's hot stuff and then got involved in drugs and alcohol and in a car accident, like, killed his passenger because they were racing.
And then shattered his leg.
And, oh, so sad for him. I mean, not the fact that he killed the girl. He ended his NFL career, which makes him not important anymore.
He's not. In fact, he's like, they leave him behind so often in this book. Yeah. It's hilarious. Anyway, and the best character is Sam.
Yeah, Sam B. Who do you voodoo, bitch?
He's
a rapper.
He's a rapper.
That's his song. I don't
yeah, that's his one-hit wonder song. And honestly, I listened to it. It's not bad.
I feel like they didn't give him as much of a backstory. Is they like hinted that he has combat experience because he has PTSD, but that could just be that he's from like the streets of Chicago or something like that.
He's from New Orleans.
New Orleans. New Orleans. But they did mention something like PTSD, so I feel like he at one time was military.
It didn't say it in his description in the game, so I don't know.
Glanced over it really quickly in the book. He doesn't really have that big of a backstory. Not like everyone else has like super. He was like detailed backstory, and it's like Sam's a rapper.
And now I'm a one-hit wonder, and I want to prove to people that I'm not a one-hit wonder. But oh no, the apocalypse happened. Like,
so I'm gonna go sing my one-hit song at this beach resort.
Well, yeah, that's what people want to hear. Listen, music artists, I don't know about this, but if you have a hit, they're gonna want you to hear you play it at every concert. That's what they paid for. I don't know what to tell you, man.
It's the one song we can all sing along to.
Yeah, you gotta do it. I went to a concert where they didn't, and it was the most disappointing thing in my life.
It's usually the song at the end when you
you would
encore,
think
encore.
The song at the end, and then you leave happy because you heard the song you wanted to hear. Concerts. Shame.
So before we get into what happened actually in this book,
Oh wait, I have another question.
Okay.
There's so many references in this book. Do books not have copyright? Like if you say they were watching Friends or they were drinking
you can
Mountain Dew.
Yeah, it's just can
just say that.
Yeah, it's alliteration. You're just not alliteration. It's the what's the term I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Allusion. ALLU.
So you can say like I was sitting on the couch watching Friends eating Mountain Dew. It's that one episode with, I don't know, Rachel.
Yeah, they were very specific about the Friends episode.
And I was like, wait, is this allowed?
Yes, so it's just a reference.
Then how come like games and movies and stuff have to pay to have?
Because you're showing an image versus just saying like.
Is that why books can get away with all this?
Probably.
Because it's all in your brain?
Yeah, it's just a reference.
Strange. Okay.
They got really specific. Usually they don't get so specific into like episodes and stuff, which he did.
He did.
Which I feel like we now know Mark Morris a lot better with all the things that he likes because there was a lot of specific
Jean May was like, oh, I used to watch Sesame Street. And I was like, what? Yeah. This is weird. These references are strange.
They're very specific.
It seems like product placement.
It kind of felt like product placement too. So the 4 characters in this that you play as in the game and that you kind of get their perspective. Some chapters are almost told in the perspective of certain characters, which they don't really tell you that. Like other books, it's like the name of the chapter is the person whose perspective you're getting. So that was a little odd. But I found these 4 main characters not to be of the strongest moral value. And thinking about it, made me think about other games that we've played and the fact that I feel like video games, and you can agree or disagree, video game protagonists tend to have a more darker or edgier or be damaged more than book and movie character protagonists. Do you feel like that's because
they have to,
like, do we accept that more because we're playing as them and then we get to put in our own morality as we progress with the character?
This is why I like making your own character. You know?
So I was thinking, like, specifically, I think I've said this several times, I love Uncharted. You hate Nathan Drake because you think he's a douchebag.
He's a douchebag.
But he has that quality at the end where he always does the right thing. Well, but he starts off as a douchebag because he's stealing things. But so as a protagonist, like, he's not necessarily a good guy to start off with. He becomes one.
Mainly because they're trying to excuse the fact that in most video games you have to go shoot and kill people.
So violence is a part of it. So
they're trying to be like, because I mean, Nathan Drake, they complain about ludonarrative dissonance all the time. Where they're like, he seems like a cool, nice guy, but then he's killing a bunch of people. So I think that if you have a protagonist that's like damaged and broken or in the military, then they'll excuse it.
I just, like, obviously Last of Us going still with Naughty Dog. Ellie's character is very, like, dark and what was that cowboy game that?
Red Dead?
Yeah, Red Dead. There.
What's that cowboy game?
I forgot. Oh, Morgan. And then...
Oh.
The first one. They're not...
John Marston?
Marsden. They're not good guys, but
no.
They are your protagonist, and they have antagonists who are worse than them.
Yeah. I think it's mainly to excuse the fact that in a video game, you're probably going to commit crimes. Especially in Red Dead. You're going to go commit so many crimes. Like, it's GTA kind of thing, you know? They want to have a broken protagonist that you're like, oh, I can go buck wild and commit so many atrocities and it won't, and I can be excused because this character just sucks. That's why people, oh, you didn't play the new GTA, but they had those 3 protagonists and people really liked playing as Trevor because he was buck wild and insane. And so when they switched to him, they could go out and commit all the atrocities and everyone would be like, it's in character, it's fine.
But then we saw, like, in, like, so you brought up that we played Bioshock several times, is you have the choice to save the little sister or to kill her. And even the game designers said very rarely do people actually kill the little sister because it's a moral dilemma, so...
They're not allowed to kill children in games and I think movies, right?
It used to, you couldn't show it on film. That was actually The Walking Dead, the first episode, where there's a little girl zombie and they cannot show her being shot on television. But now they definitely Walking Dead kills.
Oh, now it's allowed?
Has done it, yeah.
Because I thought it was illegal for a long time. Apparently books don't have the same rules.
Yeah, this is very violent against children.
Yeah, very violent against children. Not child-friendly, this book.
Yeah.
They're not held to the same standards, I guess.
No, I mean, they're different...
different medium.
Yeah.
Because it's in your brain. Because you're reading it.
But yeah, there should definitely... I know we have a couple warnings to tell you about if you choose to read this book. There are definitely things that you should know. Before we go into that, we have the 4 protagonists that we talked about, right? There's 2 female, 2 male. Mm-hmm. The 2 female protagonists are way overqualified for the zombie apocalypse because you have ex-NFL, which I get there if he's hitting people, whatever, but and then you have a rapper
hitting people.
But then you have an ex-police officer and a special forces martial artist.
The women are holding up this team.
Yeah, they definitely are a little above and beyond combat.
It does seem a little unfair, doesn't it?
That's just right off the bat. We got some backstories, and I was like, why are the 2 female protagonists kicking ass? And then Sam B ends up being the one that
kicks the most ass,
yeah,
to be honest. The rapper with like very little experience is the one doing most of the work. Honestly, Perna did a lot stuff too. I was like, if anyone's a main character, it's Perna, and then at the end it became more like Sam. Logan and Xian were just not there half the time.
And May is, well, they get bit pretty early.
They do. And I mean, Logan's knee is shattered, so he can't really do much.
He is in awful shape. He is dependent on drugs and alcohol.
Yes.
And his knee sucks. And so they literally carry him through most of this book.
Yeah, he's just
I don't know why they wouldn't just leave him behind, because he's such a jerk.
Sucks. So, he's lucky. All right, let's get into the warnings. If you are planning on reading this novel, here's your warning now. There is rape in this novel, and it is taken very lightly. So I gave this novel 1 whole star. Sorry, I wrote 1 out of 5 on Goodreads, but it looked like 1.5. Yeah, I gave this novel 1 out of 5.
Which is the only option for not liking a book.
Yeah, okay, I can't give it like a
2 is kind of like, I kind of liked it, and 3 is, or no, 2 is I liked it. Right.
I looked up if, like, it happened in the game, and it's like...
It's implied, just not
but
spoken
not,
about.
Yeah, and, you know. Also, there's a terrible moral about it, too. Like, give it time and you'll get over it.
The rape thing, not the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. But Mark also goes into God in a way I don't really think he needs to. And they're child zombies. So, it's super edgy, and...
The other thing about this book that I think we can agree that we didn't fully like is if you play the game, it takes you this is a long game. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not a simple game. There's lots of different settings and side quests and things that you need to go on. And he covers it in 330 pages, and he goes to almost every place that you go to in the game. And so some chapters you're there in a place for like 2 pages, and then you never go back there again, and you never talk about it.
He also cut out places.
Oh.
Yes! I have a little trivia here. Notable and well-known locations of the game are missing from the book, such as Town Hall and the Lighthouse. This is likely because they're not part of the main story, so they don't need to be in the book.
Yes.
There's also many characters missing from the book.
Well, I mean, they give some characters names and don't, and it was really weird where he's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Why do you need to know?" And then the other person, we get like a full backstory, and
Yeah.
we never hear from them again. And so there's some details that that he probably had a list of like, these are the things I need to cover, and he definitely checked off all the boxes, but it was so swift and non-consequential, so like it didn't matter, and so it's very the humanity of what is Dead Island, where you see the bad guys and you see the good guys. You don't see that at all in the book, and they don't go into when they do go into morality, it's very vapid and
It is very vapid. I
like,
mean, they had this whole. Well, I guess we'll get into it. We'll get into it when we get into it. With a character that was like, I'm pacifist, and then changed.
yeah. But so there is violence against children. There's a lot of really graphic descriptions of the zombies. Like,
It's gross.
there's nudity zombies, and that zombie lady would have been attractive if she didn't have like visceral blood down her chest.
They had like the women zombies were hot and the men zombies were fat and ugly. It's basically what it was.
But there are so many metaphor, similes, and analogies for the descriptions of everything in this book. I just have, as an English teacher, I was like, I would have definitely not given a good grade on this
I'm
test.
still thinking about nicotine yellow hair. That was weird. I was like, why is that a description for somebody?
Because everyone knows what that color is.
Yeah, it's like when your nails get gross from like smoking too much and they turn yellow.
Like straw
or like your
yellow.
teeth.
But still, that's
a weird way to describe it. I'm like, I know what you're talking about, but the way we got there was weird.
No, wrong.
I had to pause it, and I was like, "What?" Because I was listening to it.
So this book really should have had a better editor
or a warning in the front.
But yes, there are several. I would also say, like, if you liked this game,
oh yeah.
And you go back to read this book, I mean, it's a little nostalgia, some of the things, but at the same time, it's a little disappointing.
I wouldn't say this is canon. I would consider the game canon, because this is a novelization of the game, but a lot of stuff has changed in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that counts, because it's a different thing, but, and would we recommend this novel?
No.
No. Just play the game.
Yeah. Because if you read this novel before you play the game, you're not going to want to play the game. I don't want to
play the game anymore.
And if you read it after, it could be a little nostalgic, but at the same time, it's different. So you're going to be questioning your sanity of like, is that what happened?
Yeah, the whole thing. I was like, is this really how the game was? Because I don't remember.
Or like, I didn't do that. Like, why did that character do that?
It's weird.
Logan.
This is our lowest rated book yet.
Yes, it was. As a story, it moves very quickly.
True.
It's not difficult to read. It was kind of slow
in the beginning, but once it picked up, it like really
a lot of things happen really quickly. And there is quite a bit of things that happen. But so if you're looking for jam-packed, like, bam, this happens, and we're here, then we have to go there, but there's not a lot of explanation as to why, and there's not a lot of thought into like character motivation and character development. So it's like a fast reel of like, if you watch the game, someone like speed run this game. I guess that's kind of what this novel is.
Let's go. We're gonna deep dive into the actual story. We're gonna spoil the whole book. So if you care, leave
or pause and come back to us later.
Come back, and if you don't, or you have played it or have read it, welcome. Let's talk about this.
Let's deep
dive.
We start with the prologue.
All right.
So here's the thing. We're near Papua New Guinea, so there are known cannibalist tribes near there.
Really?
Yeah, and Kuru is an actual thing. We'll talk about that later on.
Really?
Yes. However, they do not practice voodoo, and they do not have zombies, and so that's like a West African Haitian like voodoo
I thought
thing.
This was all just made up.
But... is part of the voodoo religion. So the fact that we have combined cultures, people do it all the time. It's whatever. It's not real. It's fake, but it is part of certain people's cultures. So
who do you
do you voodoo? So voodoo does not happen in Papua New Guinea.
Disclaimer.
But Benoi is not a real place, so I don't
Benoi
know.
sounds like a real place.
It does sound like a real place. It sounds like a beautiful resort place, like an awesome vacation
I
place.
was running around the resort, and it's pretty sweet. I wish
Yeah.
it was real. I mean, not really now, but
So the prologue, we have a witch doctor who is going to, they're going to sacrifice someone.
Ching chang, walla bing bang. Sorry.
She's in Western clothes, so she's contaminated the tribe and must be dealt with. They have zombies
Amish?
like walking with them, and so again in the voodoo religion, there is zombies is like a real thing where, or to them, reanimated corpses that you have do your bidding, and so they're just kind of walking with them, like.
How do you get zombies to do your bidding?
It's like the golem with like other
food and stuff.
No, golems are like
mud
creatures that you create that you have them. You put a spell
you were talking about
on
Lord of the Rings golem with fishies.
With the potato. So the zombies are following them. They're gonna put this girl in a cave. It's like the middle of the day though. So at first, when I think of human sacrifice, I picture
nighttime.
Nighttime,
obviously,
with torches and ambiance. But it's the middle.
You guys
of the day.
know how it is.
So they walk her up, and she's like, "No," like she's being super sassy. Which I was like, "You go, girl! Like you tell them." And then they throw her in there with the zombies is what I got from it, but then apparently not, because the zombies are still.
Yeah, it was confusing.
There's like a cave mausoleum thing that they tie her in, and then they cut open the zombies and eat their brains.
Yeah,
which that does not sound
the opposite.
Yeah,
strange. You know what?
And everyone in the village eats the brains. Like, it's a little boy brings the head, and he's like, "Here, eat the brains." The witch doctor gives him to munch on. Snack time.
In Benoi, you eat zombie brains.
Yeah, but it's like, hello, you're not really supposed to eat brains of anything, because there's like bacteria and stuff, and that's what makes people sick and go crazy. So, I wonder what's gonna happen.
Oh no.
Let's eat the brains. Not even cooked. They're just
going for it.
It's gross.
Of like dead people too. So
yeah.
Ugh.
That is part of the sacrifice.
And they leave her like somewhere else.
She's in the mausoleum tomb.
Just tied up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just left her there,
it's like
and then they went and they partied and ate brains.
Yeah.
And that was it. And you're like, okay.
And then we're on an airplane.
Yes. Now we get to the actual plot.
Where we meet 3 of our protagonists, and Logan is gross to begin with, and he's called Mohawk Guy for like the longest time. Yeah. By longest time, I mean in this book, like 2 pages.
When I saw his face in the game, I was like, that's not what I thought he would look like.
No.
Strange. I don't know, I always just imagined some like big blonde dude, but he's got the gross goatee hair and the mohawk. He's disgusting. Anyway.
I have in my notes, he is a douchebag. Like, he hits on the stewardess, and he gross
more
about
alcohol, so he's gonna go touch her for some reason, and she bent over, and then he touched her butt and like groped it, and then he was like, "Whoa, man, I'm sorry," and then was not sorry about it and was sassy to the lady.
And then Sam B has to
White Knight Sam B,
known as the black guy.
Yeah, rude.
Until we got a name, and was like, "Hey, dude, don't do that."
Yeah. And then Perna pops over and is like,
"There's a lady." Yeah. Again, her description is she's a lady.
Ooh, she's a sexy lady. She's so hot. Thinks Logan and Sam, I guess. Who's saying this?
And I don't know where this is coming from. And
from Mark.
Then she buys everyone their drinks on the plane. Like we need more alcohol with this guy.
She peeks over and is like, I know you, Logan. Tell everybody what you did. You killed somebody. Yeah. Hey, Logan Carter, the criminal.
Because Sam B didn't know who he was, and Logan was offended.
Yeah. She's like, I know who you are. You suck.
Yeah.
And then she bought everyone drinks anyway.
Like, let's be friends.
And so now they all are sort of friends, I guess.
And I like how they mention in the first chapter, which is gross, called In-Flight Entertainment. They mention, oh, look, there's a prison off the island.
Oh, yeah.
It's mentioned like 3
And
times.
Perna's like, I know about that prison. It's full of bad people. Like, yeah, no,
A
duh.
prison off
Perna. And then
an island.
Sam is like, how do you know this? And Perna's like, I read. And I'm like, it's a prison. It's a prison. Foreshadowing. You'll be going there later.
It's like a weird thing for them to bring up at that time, though. I get why he did it.
It's movie timing,
it's
really.
foreshadowing,
Look
but
out
at
the window.
Same time, it's
There's
like
the church.
that's a weird thing to comment
There's the prison. There's the lighthouse. There's the where else do they go? The sewers. Oh, you can't see that from a plane.
The grocery store.
The grocery store. The city.
So we're in Benoit. Then we meet our 4th main character.
She's a receptionist.
We get a whole lot of her backstory.
Yeah, holy cow.
For someone who's not really in the novel all that much, we have her backstory the most.
She had a whole chapter that was just dedicated to her backstory, I felt like.
And then she also gets hit on by Logan and is gross.
It's gross.
But yeah, she was from Beijing and her dad was a cop and he dies while she's supposed to be doing homework but is hanging out with her grandma instead. And
yeah.
It was very detailed.
And then like the friend of the dad comes in and it's like, oh, I'm sorry,
He's like, no, they have to talk in another room, and she's kind of
yeah.
listening, and then the mom screams and
cries a lot,
and then still won't tell her, and
and she's like, oh, I've never heard anyone scream like that, and then she also became a cop.
Yeah, she wanted to be like her dad, and then she becomes special forces, and she's the best martial artist in the world.
Wow, but not good enough because now she's like a secret group of all-female police officers, secret service members. Okay, her and Perna are both members of like all-female squads that got broken up. And
Perna was a part of a female squad.
Well, she did in the game.
Oh, not in the book though.
Not in the book, I guess.
She's the cop.
Side backstory. Well, it was like an all-female squad of cops, kind of like Jian too. And
again, in chapter 2, they mention the prison. So chapter 1, chapter 2, we get, oh look, there's a prison. Because she's like, oh, why am I not at the prison? Like, I am here as a receptionist. And there's a bunch of Chinese spies at this resort.
Yeah, a bunch of them. The whole staff is Chinese spies.
And then we also, in this chapter, we find out that the reason why the 3 people are there, Perna, Sam B, and Logan, is that they participated in a blood drive.
Yep.
And
you know what?
Like, give blood, get a free vacation. But they're the only 3, and they don't think that's weird.
Honestly thought that, like, oh, the zombie, that's why they're immune. It's because they used their blood from the blood drive to make the zombie serum thing. And so, because they use their blood, they're immune, but that's not even the case.
No.
Which would have been a cool plot line. Give blood so you can be immune to the zombie apocalypse.
But, yeah, there's this whole mass conspiracy thing, which we'll get into in a little bit, which is not believable at all. So, and I wrote, that's not weird or at all suspicious.
Nope.
With this, there's only 3 blood drive winners. Like, why
it's
3?
Funny that 2 of them are celebrities and one of them is just an ex-cop.
Yeah, and then they all have rooms next to each other in the hotel, and they get a free vacation because they set up a blood drive for some of them, and some of them just gave blood. And
well, Sam and Logan, I think, set up a blood drive. Did Perna just give blood?
I think she just gave blood.
And so did Jian just gave blood.
But we find that out later.
Yeah.
And then that leads us to chapter 3. Who do you VooDoo, bitch? I think that's the... that is the actual song in the game.
That's the song.
And it's got a nice beat to it.
Who do you VooDoo, bitch?
We also find out in chapter 3 that Logan likes docile women.
Why do I need to know that?
He likes them not feisty, although he's hitting on all the feisty women. So
so he sucks at picking that.
And then he goes trying to pick up the ladies, and he strikes out, which is, they give a description that Logan is fishing for girls, and then he goes and he sees Sam, and he's like, hey, I know that guy. So he pushes his way all the way to the front of the stage where this guy is performing and is like, hey, pay attention to me. And he does it, and he gets all butthurt, and he leaves and pushes people aside. And he says that Sam is pacing the stage like a tiger. Again, this is all the similes and stuff that we read. with the book. And then he sees Logan is again crying because Sam wouldn't pay attention to him, and he sees Perna, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sad," and Perna's like, "Get over yourself." And they're arguing about nothing.
Yeah.
And then Logan tries to pick up Perna, and she like kicks him in the balls.
Yep. Pretty awesome.
And then he has to go to the bathroom to
fix his balls.
And I guess it's an all gender bathroom because May's in there with a girl who's having like a seizure, and then
and like, okay, so this is the opening scene of the game too, where it's that random guy that's being a jerk.
Yeah.
And he goes into the women's restroom because he's drunk, and I'm like, why didn't they just do that? Where like, this guy's drunk, but also, you know, needs to readjust his balls or whatever. And then he goes into the wrong bathroom so that she and May could be like, sir, this is the women's restroom. Yeah. Because in the game, there's like pills on the floor that he picks up. But yeah, this woman's having a seizure in the bathroom.
And then she bites May in the hand because she's got white eyes and pinpricked pupils. That's the, you're a zombie face. Besides the fact that they're trying to like eat you. Yes. And then Logan's holding the door when May runs and gets the security guards. And then the security guards show up and Logan's like, all right, peace out. And he like leaves. And then, so that's the beginning. But that's not actually the beginning of the zombie thing because you find out later that it was happening before that. So where happened to that lady that she
got bit?
That she got bit because there's...
That's a good question. I have no idea. Somebody must have got bit. Or wait, no, because they said it was that one lady's fault, right?
So they said that because the village was infected beforehand, and most of the people that work at the resort live in the village, that they must have been infected and brought it to the resort. But then you don't really... I don't think it said that she had like any bites or scratches on her.
She just had it. Maybe she just died in the game of pills. Because I mean, in the game, when you walk into the intro cutscene, the lady's on the floor, and Yin Mei's like, "Sir, this is the women's restroom," and he goes over and he picks up a bunch of pills that the lady dropped on the floor. So I'm assuming they're implying that she OD'd on pills and then like died and then became a zombie.
Yeah, because don't you have to die in order to become a zombie in this game?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well,
I think you do. Like the virus eventually kills you and you become a zombie, but or a
zombie just like beat you up enough.
Yeah,
because
they're very violent.
They're intense. They come running, screaming at you, and punch you in the face.
So that was I don't know. It's what, like 2 a.m. at that point, something like that.
Something like that. And
then a couple hours later, it's 4 a.m. because so we're in chapter 4 and it's called Unknown Number.
4.
It's 4 a.m. and Perna wakes up to a scream and she's like, oh, that's weird. Let me call the front desk. And the line's dead.
Beep, 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 beep. You feel immersed.
And so she's like, oh, let me go out. But the stupid thing is they have cell phones.
Yes.
Because they get a call later on from an unknown number.
They bring up the cell phone like 3 times in this, and they always seem to forget that they have cell phones.
But I mean, if you're in a foreign country, you don't really know all the numbers. But like 411, typically, like I think Europe is like their 911, and you should know emergency numbers if you're traveling to a foreign place, especially if you have your cell phone with you to use. So again, we find out that if you see someone who has mostly white eyes and pinprick pupils, they're zombies because the bellhop, why he's in the hallway at 4 a.m. Like, you can't check in at 4 a.m.
You can't? What if it's a 24-hour hotel?
Well, you have to get there by a boat or a plane. So that's
fancy.
Yeah.
You never know.
But it's irony or that the bellhop hops on Logan.
Wow.
And so he bites Logan because Logan deserves it. And then Perna pulls Logan in and has to treat the wound. And so he's been bitten. So May has been bitten. Logan's been bitten. Logan is the one to say that it's the zombie apocalypse. And then both Logan and Perna get a call on their cell phones from an unknown number. So they're like, let's answer it.
Great idea.
Dun dun. And there's someone on the phone that says there's 2 other people on the line. So it's like a party line.
Party chat.
That's not easy to do.
I've never figured out how to do that.
In this time period. For those of us who...
Conference call.
Like, you have to call them individually.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that now without like a third party app, so
it's not easy to do, and I don't know how I did it, but that's logistics that we don't need to worry about
it.
And so I wonder who those 2 other people could be on the line. But he asks Logan and May about their wounds because he's a stalker and knows somehow that they've both been bitten.
I like how he's like, don't ask any questions, please.
Yeah.
And he's like, so
how are you doing?
How are you doing, guys?
Just listen.
And then whenever they say anything, he's like, stop talking. Yeah. It's like, you asked questions.
And now I have questions.
Yeah.
He tells us
responses only, please.
Yes, no, okay. But they both seem to be doing okay, although Logan got like a huge chunk of his neck or shoulder taken out, and he's a little woozy. I mean, that would be frightening if someone jumped on you and bit you like that.
Like, took a whole chunk of your shoulder, yeah.
He tells us that there is an outbreak on the island, and this is where, like, things are oddly specific and vague at the same time. He says the first victim was in the city, Morby City, and it happened 6 hours ago. So it's been a couple hours since the lady in the bathroom. So the first victim, he says, was 6 hours ago, which is a lot, we find out later. In 6 hours, they have infected 60% of the population. That's like huge.
Well, how big is this island?
I mean, you have the resort and the town, and like you run into a crap ton of people, and then there's like a little secret village.
It's true. It's a lot.
Yeah, but 60% of them apparently are all zombies now.
They're all condensed in one area.
Yeah. And our 4 characters are told that they have to travel inland because they can't, like, if they try to leave by boat, they're going to get blown up by the military.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
So they're like, I'll help you escape, but you have to travel inland. I'm going to send someone to the hotel to help you out. So go downstairs. And so they're like, okay. We have Logan's lovely... Do you think that these zombies play by normal zombie rules?
Depends on what you think is normal zombie rules.
Like, they have to they have to break their head.
Their brain?
Yeah. But I'm like, what a weird thing to be like, all right, guys, we need to just naturally assume that no matter what we do, we need to decapitate them.
I mean, wouldn't you think of that? If you're like, okay, we have to deal with a bunch of zombies, and you're like, okay, do you think the brain thing is actually true, though?
I think you gotta test it out. I think you can't just assume. I mean, what if they're actually not dead either? What if they're just sick, and you're just, like, decapitating all these people that you could eventually have saved?
Or they could eat you, though.
I don't know if you want to come back knowing that you've eaten a bunch of people.
Stand your ground rules.
It's just, he's like, I was like, but also, Logan, if this is the case and you've been bitten, then we should just kill you.
They should just kill Logan. He's not useful
because he's
at
infected.
all.
So if it was normal zombie rules, Logan would have been left behind.
That's true.
And I like how they're just like, should we wake up everyone in the hotel and let them know, or should we just leave? And they decide
to
just leave. They're like, we'll let people figure it out on their own.
They didn't get the phone call.
They did. They're not one of us.
They're not the blood drive people. So,
and so they.
Let this be a lesson. Yeah. You should give blood, because if the zombie apocalypse happens, you won't get the phone call to escape.
To be like, hey, we got it out for you. But they're not gonna let anyone else on their floor or anything like that know. Sam B is next door, and they know that he's part of it. I love his weapon.
Which one is it?
He's put 2 coat hangers together, and like that's gonna affect anything.
He's trying his best.
If you've ever tried to use a coat hanger to grab something in a hard space that you can't get to, it's the worst. And like, you're gonna take out somebody's brain with that.
I don't think I've tried to do that.
It bends the wrong way, and you're just like, the coat hangers are the worst. Why would you use that as a weapon? They use a chair, so I don't know. So they decide to leave, and then as they're leaving, Logan's like, "Oh no, I forgot my pills."
Yeah.
Perna like calls him out. No, it's May that calls him out. That's just like, "Oh, I know what you're." It was either
It's
Perna.
Perna.
Perna's
Like, I know what pills you
"Oh,
have.
you're
Because Sam's like, do
pain
you
and
really need your
antidepressants?"
pills? Like, really? And he's like, yes, I need my pills. And then she's like, oh, your antidepressants and painkillers? She's like, how did you know?
It's like, I'm sure we can find that anywhere.
Yeah. She's like, I can, just tell.
And this is where we see the first child incident as well. We're in chapter 5 right now. There's a woman that they're taking the stairs down, and she comes into the stairway, and then Sam B says like he thought he saw like a monkey jump on her, and it ended up being a little girl
in My Little Pony pajamas.
Yeah.
That was another one I was like, this is oddly specific.
Yeah, and so I think they just run, right? At that point.
No, they killed the little My Little Pony pajama one. They beat her with a chair, and Perna just goes nuts on this poor little girl. I guess she's a zombie, but she was eating her mom, I think. Right? Yeah.
Oh, that's what they assume, yeah.
They're eating her. She was eating her mom. She looked gross. She's wearing My Little Pony pajamas, and Perna smashed her with a chair until she died. And Logan was like, "That's sad." And then they moved on.
And then they get to the security guard. And I just have like all of these. They attack a security guard. They attack a receptionist. Everything is gross. They have like eyes popping like an egg.
Disgusting.
It's like the gross
I don't want to think
description.
about that.
So Logan throws up and we leave the hotel. Because it's gross. And yeah. Finally, we meet up with May. She is hanging out with a tall, slim, dark-skinned 25-year-old man. And that's Sinamoi.
Sinamoi's 25?
That's it seemed older.
He looked so much older in the games.
That's what his description was. And so he is the one that is going to help us get inland, we think.
Yeah.
But lies.
We don't know.
And so he takes us to the lifeguard station where he works. And Logan gets left behind.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we need to go get supplies, because if we're fighting the zombie apocalypse, we're gonna need something more than a chair and a coat hanger.
Fair enough.
And Samoa's like, oh, I've got like knives, like fishing knives. And they're like, no, we need weapons.
Guns.
And we need food, because we can't just, he's got like, this water is for the toilet. This water is for drinking.
You really need toilet water? Like,
there's not like it's a lifeguard station. They're not meant to live there. So he's a lifeguard. He was told by someone on the radio to go get the 4 people. So it's the same person from the unknown number. And the same person that was on the phone promised him money if he gets them past the jungle into the prison to get on a helicopter in the top tower, and no one knows who this unknown voice is. So
doesn't he also want to escape though?
He doesn't go with them.
Yeah, I think that's weird. He just wants the money.
Yeah, he's like, I'll just take the money.
Wouldn't you want to escape?
He doesn't seem too bothered. Like, a lot of the people don't seem too bothered. The fact that like 60% of the population is now eating the other 40% of the population. And even like Moen that we meet later, he like doesn't leave either.
He's care.
Just like, whatever, like, yeah, this is a virus that we've had forever.
Yeah, no big deal.
Whatever, we'll survive. And so this is where we hear that May also gave blood, but in China. And Perna says that they were sent there because they are immune, so that they're guinea pigs. And this is where we first hear this conspiracy. So May is in China, and the Chinese government put together a blood drive. Then you have an Australian cop that gives blood. You have an NFL player who in the game, I think he plays in Canada. And then you have a rapper from New Orleans. So a conspiracy where all 4 blood samples were given to the same organization throughout the world.
Seems a little fishy.
A little bit. Like, that has to be a crazy conspiracy theory where there is an organization that has access to all blood samples.
All blood drives are run by one organization.
The organization.
The blood organization.
Dun, dun, dun.
Big blood.
This is where we also hear Perna's backstory, that she was kicked off the police force because she killed the child molester, Jeffrey Lucas. So both the dead people, Jeffrey Lucas, because he's from Lucas Pharmaceuticals, and then we're getting specific names, and I'm like, oh, these people will be important.
No,
they're not.
Don't worry about them.
They're not important at all.
It's weird that they gave us actual names.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Some names, like both names, and the fact that he's from pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, he's from a pharmaceutical thing, and I was like, oh, it'll be like Resident Evil, right?
No.
No, it doesn't matter.
So they leave Logan behind to go find weapons. And Samoa is like, no, you can't leave. I need my money. And so Sam's like, here, take all the money that I have with me.
Yeah, give him banknotes.
Yeah. And so he's like, all right, you can leave.
Yeah, no, I'll take these banknotes, sure.
And this is where we leave the watchtower and we're going to go find a vehicle so we could go to the town to get supplies.
Mm-hmm.
And they hear a television playing in one of the little huts. So in the zombie apocalypse, do you go searching for someone watching TV?
No, the fact that I decided not to help everyone on the floor of the hotel would mean I am just not going to help anybody in my path, you know?
Especially they're like, oh, zombies are attracted to noise. They'll come to that. So there'll be zombies there. But hey, there's someone watching TV and they don't know about the zombie apocalypse. But now we care.
Now we care.
And so we should go tell them.
Maybe they feel guilty now.
I don't know. It was weird. I don't like it. And
they switch between caring and not caring so much in this book.
So they go to investigate, and there's old zombie people, and they have to kill them. And they thought it was a trap set by, like, non-zombie people, which I'm like, it's only been 6 hours.
Yeah,
like,
why would you think it was a
why
trap?
are people already so shady within 6 hours of the zombie apocalypse?
People are already so shady. Like, they went from zero to bandit town, like,
yes,
so quickly.
And then they find a van, and it's "Wave Your Worries Goodbye." It's painted on the van.
I'm honestly surprised that the shop that they were gonna go to, they're like, we should find a big name shop so because they'll have a car. And after all of this product placement, I was like, it's gonna be like a Walmart or something, or like a Subway
or 7-Eleven. That would be,
or something like that. But no, it was its own business that's like sells surf supplies.
And then I like how Sam has to rescue May because, you know, as a martial artist, she's overwhelmed with the zombies. The world's best martial artist.
Yeah, can't handle some
zombies. They start hitting people with the van. And then, of course, the van does not have any gas in it.
Of course.
And so on a tiny island where I'm like, I don't know how far you're driving.
But it has enough gas to drive.
Yes. And then we make it to the gas station. And this is where we meet Jen and her father. Jen is a nurse. Her father's infected. And so her father's like, leave me behind.
Yeah, I'm having bad thoughts, like I want to eat my daughter. Go!
And then so Jen's like, all right, Dad. And so she leaves.
Yeah.
And then as they're driving, they hear church bells. And then, of course, they're like, oh, church bells. We should go that way.
Great idea.
Let's go towards the noise. Again, should you go towards loud noises in a zombie apocalypse? That's where all the zombies are. For people that know all these things about zombies, they know nothing about zombies.
It's interesting that the church decided to do the bell thing, you know?
They're trying to get
survivors.
In the game, they're trying to get survivors and say, like, we're here.
Yeah.
But it also causes zombies to come, so it's
a double-edged sword.
But the people in the church are nice people.
That's true.
And they're trying to help people, and they're like, hey, help us get supplies, you know, and we'll stay and help the survivors of this island. And so you're like, all right, we'll go get you supplies.
Mm-hmm.
And then, honestly, the church thing is so fast.
They just kind of hang out at the church. Don't they pick up a dude who knows the security codes?
Yes, Danny and Pedro. But Pedro
I don't remember anything about Pedro.
Pedro, like, doesn't get talked about. Danny, we find out what happens to him later. But, so, Sister Helen is a little grumpy. She's like, get God's wrath upon us. But then they're like, but Danny and Pedro know where the guns are at the police station. And
they built the security system.
So they have the code. So they're like, all right, let's go to the police station. And the police station, they get in the door, but dun dun dun.
There's people there.
There's people there.
Surprise.
And the world's best martial artist. And are they all there for this one?
I think they leave Logan again.
Oh, Logan's left. Logan didn't come this whole time. He's still at the
he's still at the lifeguard station. That's
right. But you have Perna, who's a cop. Mm-hmm. You have May, who's a martial artist. And also a cop, and
2 cops and a rapper.
And Danny.
And
And
Danny.
Jen, who's a nurse, who's like very like, I don't want to hurt people because I'm a nurse.
Yeah, why did we bring Jen? We should have just left her at the church.
I don't know why she wasn't left at the church. That she could have helped the people in the church. Like,
yeah, they were like, you have to stop being a pacifist and fight zombies. She's like, no, I don't want to do that. So, like, I don't know why we bring her on missions, because she can stay and hang out at the church or at the lighthouse with Logan. Like, she doesn't... Lighthouse, light.
Oh, they left him behind before they found Jen.
Still.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, they really shouldn't.
It was kind of rude for them to be like, get over it, fight stuff.
So I liked how the quote that I had for chapter 9, which is where we go to the police station, is that back in town, it's a hideously grotesque parody of consumerism because the zombies are walking around like they're window shopping.
Oh my god. Ew.
But
you telling me the zombie apocalypse is like a symbol for consumerism?
But they're eating livers instead of, I don't know, chocolate.
Twinkies.
Yes.
And with their My Little Pony pajamas, watching Friends and eating Subway.
So they're supposed to go to the police station, then the grocery store to get groceries. The grocery store has a pharmacy because they need to get somebody from the church misses his heart medication. Why you don't carry that on you at all times? Duh, person, you're on vacation. You should still carry it on you. But so he left it behind, of course, because it's a zombie apocalypse. But now he's like dying, so they have to go get him medications due at the church. And so that's the plan: is to go to the police station, get the guns, go to get the groceries, and then get the drugs.
Head back.
And then they run into people at the police station, and they're like, no, we're not going to give you the guns unless you bring us food.
They can't even get into the guns themselves.
Yeah.
They like do this back and forth with them forever. That's like,
and then,
you can't even get in. We have the codes. Just let us in and we'll like,
we'll give you
around.
Them. Yeah.
And they're like, nah, we're terrible bandits.
And there's not that many of them either.
There's like 3.
Yeah. And Danny is stupid and he's like, well, I know the codes. And they're like, you're dumb. Why did you tell people you know the code? Don't tell people that. And so Danny and Jen have to be left behind as hostages. And we go to the grocery store and we're gone for like, I don't know, an hour.
An hour.
And the grocery store is titled An Act of Love because they go in and something doesn't smell right. And a dad killed his family and himself.
Yeah.
As an act of love.
At the grocery store.
But I guess he did a good job because they didn't come back as zombies. But I guess they weren't infected.
True. Well, then that sucks.
Yeah. But I thought it was really interesting that they're at the grocery store and they were very specific on the types of food that they grabbed. Like, they put a lot of thought into this, like, in the hour that they were gone. So, it's zombie apocalypse time. You're at the grocery store. What do you grab?
Stuff that doesn't expire as well.
So, like, canned foods.
I know they talked about Twinkies at some point.
Yes.
Canned foods, Twinkies, stuff that will allow, like, beans and
they're
rice.
Like, we're not going to take any meat or vegetables because that's gross. I mean, again, it's been like a day since this has happened.
I mean, you could eat them now.
Yes. So you probably should.
Give the bandits the, like, vegetables and stuff that expires.
And they were just like, we need to take water. And, like, they were very, like, methodical about what to take. But, again, it's been a day.
Yeah.
And, like...
It's okay to eat that meat still. Like...
Cook it.
Yeah, it's fine.
You're going to need it, like, eat it first, because then you can have the cans later. Like, don't just leave it behind, because then it will actually rot and be gross. And, of course, they get, Sam got bit by a fat zombie at the grocery store. So now Logan, May, and Sam have all been bitten.
Wasn't, like, Perna really mad at herself, because she's like, I could have stopped the thing with Sam, and...
I don't know, he, like, falls and hits his head
on,
like... And then the guy, like, bites his wrist, which is important later because as they go in the sewers, like, they're like, oh, you're a strong man. You should go up and push the thing. But I'm like, he got bit on the wrist. Like, he doesn't have a hand. No. So dumb. Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But they go back to the police station with the groceries, and they're like, all right, we're just going to give them 2 bags of groceries. They put the code in. It doesn't work because they're idiots. And the guy that knows the code is in there with the police officers. Not the police officer. I don't even know who these people are. The banditos.
We're just gonna call bandits.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, it's not working. And then the bandits open the window and throw Danny out.
Yeah, they throw Danny out. The guy who knows the code.
Like, dies.
Well, because he got thrown out a window.
Yeah, he lands, like, head first. And so they're like, oh, we gotta save Jen. Mm-hmm. Who knows if she's alive?
Yeah. So they're like, we gotta go through the sewers.
Yeah, and so they have to go back to the grocery store where they find that, because May tells them, "Oh, everything's connected through the sewers. At least that's what I've been told." And so why
right.
they go back? It's like 3 buildings over, back to the grocery store. They
There has
go.
to be a manhole like closer, you would think.
They have to like dig it open too. They're like, "What's the lowest point?" And I'm like, Where's the manholes? There's like
There's
legitimate
manholes
sewage,
everywhere.
yes. And so they make it into the sewers. It's gross, and there's a surprise in there for them. They're like, "Gee, no zombies, because there's no meat in the sewers? Why would there be zombies in there?"
Because it's stinky.
No,
Zombies love that.
they love the stink. But they run into a
Crocodile?
crocodile.
Is it a crocodile or an alligator?
There's a crocodile.
Okay.
There's something in the water, and it's a freaking crocodile.
You know, like in every sewer.
Why? How?
Don't worry about it. That was like the most video game moment
Yeah.
that there's like is it like also a zombie crocodile or something?
I don't, maybe in the game, but I don't think it was in the.
So like, why is this happening? This happened in Resident Evil 2. Why are there so many crocodiles in these sewers?
I mean, I could see like a zombie wandering in there or falling into a sewer, and like there being a zombie in there. But why a crocodile? What is the crocodile gonna eat there?
The people who fall into the sewer. All the zombies that fell into the sewer got eaten by the crocodile.
But this crocodile is 15 feet long in a sewer, and I was like, that seems a little large.
How did it get in there?
Yeah.
Did it like, was it an actual crocodile size and it went in there and it expanded? It upgraded?
And then they're not sure if they killed it. That's the thing. I'm like, they're like, did we kill it? I don't know. I'm like,
let's just get out of here.
Yeah, you're not gonna go check, right?
I guess they're not going back into the sewers after this, so like it doesn't matter.
But... So again, this is the dumb part where you have a police officer and a martial artist, and the door's too heavy for them. Gosh. And so, Sam,
big boy Sam,
you're gonna have to open it for us, even though your wrist just got bit by a fat zombie. So he crawls up, and
are there any strong boys that can help me move this stuff? I hate when teachers do that because I just need
tall.
It's the feminine urge to just want to do it anyway because I'm like, you think I can't carry your heavy supplies, Professor?
I'm short, so I'll take the tall people, but I don't need stronger people. I can move stuff around, but it ends up being not a big deal to open up the trap door that puts them in the janitor's closet in the police station.
The trap door to the sewer, because you know the janitor's going in the sewer all the time. He's just
dumping all the... So it's just a trap door, so the girls could have opened it.
But we had to have big, strong Sam open it.
And then the note that I put on here is that, did they kill all the men in there? Because... they're all playing cards, I guess, and then they see May, and she's tied up and crying, and they're just like, F it, let's kill everyone.
And they killed all of them.
They killed all of them.
One of the dudes was like, no, wait, take me with you, and they were like, no.
Yeah, they sucked, but damn, like, that, I mean, they definitely deserved it. We find out that they
actually considered taking that one dude, which made me angry. Right?
Yeah.
Because they had this whole, like, 2 pages of Perna being like, I can't take you, you're too injured because we destroyed you with a shotgun.
Yeah, they, like, shot his guts.
And he's like, no, take me with you. And then she's like, I'm going to put you out of your misery, which he didn't deserve.
No.
Put you out of your misery. And then Sam's like, wait, Perna, you don't have to do this. I will do it. Yes. And then he does it.
Killed enough people.
Oh God, I will also so overdramatic for no reason. Kill those losers. They threw your friend out of a window and did worse things to your other friend.
Yeah.
Don't even consider saving them or giving them any mercy.
After that, we end up back at the lifeguard station, and I'm like, weren't we supposed to do things? Like, didn't we have...
It has changed now.
It was like...
We didn't even go back to the church.
No, you do. It's like, oh yeah, we went back to the church, and that was it. Like...
Oh, really? Oh my God, I missed it.
You gave them... Like, it's wow. Like not even... They barely mention it. It's like a sentence. So we're back at the lifeguard station, which is confusing. Again, we find out what happened to Jen. She got raped by all of the men there. Mm-hmm. In the hour that we were gone. Like, they were like, oh, time's up. We're here. We got to change all the codes, get all the guns.
Yeah, they did a lot in that hour.
Yeah, No, thank
No,
you.
thank you.
And if we could not have rape in any more of these video game books, we would greatly appreciate it.
Please stop. It's not cool or interesting or realistic. It's just dumb and upsetting. Why are you doing this, Mark Morris?
Yeah,
this is not so necessary. Stupid.
Again, the zombie apocalypse just happened. It's been a day.
It's been a day.
Like, you took over a police station.
It's childish to write like this. I'm disappointed in you.
Yeah, can we not? Thank you. Have a nice day. They should have left Jen at the church.
Yeah, they should have.
They brought them with her
for no reason
to the Lifehouse, and she's not having a good day, to say the least. Her dad's a zombie, and she had a bad experience. And Logan has just been chilling at the lifeguard station this whole time. And then we get the man on the radio, like, they're there for 15 minutes, and they're like, oh, he's supposed to call. He is a colonel at the Benoit Island Defense. His wife is a doctor at the prison, and she's infected. He tells a sketchy story about atmospheric interference, which is why he can't see what's going on the CCTV anymore, and so why he doesn't know what's happening with them. But I'm like, you knew that they got bitten. Yeah. Like, you know a lot about them and what's going on, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm sorry, the radio interference. Oh, no. I'm going through a tunnel.
I'm breaking up.
And he's like, but you need to go to the jungle and look for Mo, and he can bring you to the prison. And so they go they're like, all right, let's go. So they go in the car, and they all go, and they're like, bye, lifeguard dude.
Yeah. Sinamoi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye, Sinamoi. See you later.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we hear about from him. We don't see him again. Yeah. And this is where we get the awful quote, which I will say.
Say it.
And shame on you,
Mark.
And your editors as well. This quote should never have been in your book. Have you ever felt like a virgin at a rapist convention?
That's not even a saying.
In front of a character who just got raped.
And then Sam was like, I can't believe you said that, Logan, in front of a character that just got raped.
You should have punched him in the face and kicked him in the balls.
That's not even like an actual saying, though. No. Like, you're just making light out of a terrible situation, and I'm disappointed.
Yeah, that was gross and totally not needed and should have absolutely been edited out of your book.
Horrible.
We run into Moen. He's at a village that is full of people that are not infected, and they seem to be fine.
Yeah, they're just hanging out.
They like don't care. And they're a little weary of them because obviously they're covered in goo because they've been fighting zombies.
Covered in goo.
And the little boy is kind of sketch, and Jen can speak the language, which is why she's with them, I guess. And so they go to get Moen, and he's like, why are all these people acting weird around us? And he's like, they all think you're cursed because you're covered in goo. Moen, we find out, buys and sells things and drives a boat, and I'm like, pirate.
He's a pirate?
He's absolutely a freaking pirate. And they're like, we need to go to the prison because there's this virus. And he's like, why don't you go to the laboratory? And they're like, what
laboratory?
And he's like, everyone knows about the laboratory.
Yeah, it's how this thing started.
What?
I'm like, you guys are just okay with that? You know this?
He's like, everyone knows this, and why no one at the church or anything like that brought this up, or at the prison or anything is weird. So guess where we're going? Side quest.
Lab.
All right, so we take another 2-hour drive and walking thing, and Moen is a pirate. May and Jen stay behind, though. They don't go on this 3-hour tour because they need to stay with the van. And
sure,
there's a trek. So they get to the lab, and there's guards at the gate, and Moen's like, hey, they're cool, they're with us. And they're like, okay, you can come in, but then Moen doesn't come in, and that should be like a red flag.
Yeah, like, that was weird.
He's like, I'm gonna stay here at the gate. They know me, but
yeah, I'll let you in, but I'm not coming in.
I'm not going in.
I'm not dealing with that.
You meet Miss Dr. West, who is a vivisectionist, so which I had to look up what that was.
What does that mean?
It means that they cut open live animals for research.
Oh, no.
Because he's got a lot of, like, animals, and Logan's like, what's up with the animals? And he's like, why are you asking? Don't you know what's happening here? And he says he's working on, like, cosmetic testing on animals. But no.
No.
But definitely not. And the Kuruni are the native people of the island, and Dr. West is like, yeah, they have the virus. Like, it's no big deal. Like, they've always had it. It's a thing. But it's never been this bad. It's just led to dementia and death.
I think it was really weird when they met him and he like shook their hands and stuff. And then they were like, "So why are we here?" And he got like really
Yeah,
serious.
he's like, you should
and he was like,
know why.
"Wait a minute, I
Why
thought you
are
knew
you
why you were
here?
here." And I was
Did
like,
you
"Wait,
lie to me when you came in the gate?
did he expect them? Like, does he know who they are?"
I don't know. It was kind of weird at the end. Well,
It felt weird.
yeah, they didn't.
That
Well,
whole
that wasn't
situation.
explained. They talk about that the Kurunuri have the virus. He thinks that it's Kuru. So Kuru is an actual thing. It's from cannibalism, from eating eyeballs and brains. It leads to severe dementia and craziness. And that's because they're cannibals, which these people are apparently. And so he's like, "Oh yeah, I can help you with the vaccine. I need." Here's my shopping list.
Here's my shopping list.
I need an immune villager. So not the three of you because you're already immune.
Yeah,
but I need someone with more pure immunity.
Please.
Yes. And then I'm gonna need a DNA sample from like the original infected people. So someone like at least 2 years dead is what he tells them. And they're like, okay, let's do it. So they're all game and they go to the village. And the village, there's a bunch of zombies and people are hiding in the trees. And they do Operation Fish in a Barrel where they climb up and they shoot a bunch of bullets down at the zombies below.
Yes.
And they kill all the zombies, and then the villagers come down, and then we find one of the villagers is
the witch doctor.
Yes.
Oh god, I was right. You stared at me for I was like, did I mess it up? No. Who are you talking about?
Korotia Ope, which is the witch doctor. And they take another 3-hour journey to go to get
busy day.
Yeah, there he's like, "Oh, I can get you those samples." So like,
yeah, you can have some of our dead.
He takes them to the burial site. And they like get them cleaned up so like they're not gross anymore. Goo. Yeah, and not smelly. Logan and Moen stay behind, which is good because Logan can't trek up this mountain to the burial site because of his bad knee.
Logan is so useless.
Why? And like I can see it in the video game because you have different side quests, but I feel like they're splitting up a lot. Like the whole thing about horror movies and all of this, like you stick together because as soon as you go off, you die. So leaving these people behind, I'm like, they're
gonna just die.
Yeah. You're gonna have to come back and get them, and then they're not gonna know what's going on, or
at least after the event at the police station, they're a little more wary about leaving people behind.
Yeah, but they just left 2 other people behind. You have Logan at the research station, at the laboratory with
that crazy
the pirate.
And the pirate.
And he's like by himself. He's not with one of the team members.
They'll be fine. Actually, they just don't care about Logan.
They don't care about
him. The secret is they just don't care. And they're like, if Logan dies, Logan dies. What are we going to do? Nothing.
So they go to the burial site, which is what we saw in the prologue. They go deep into the cave because that's where the fresher samples are. The people that have been buried forever are at the front of the cave, and they like go farther in to bury people, which I feel like is very reverse.
I mean, maybe they just dig more, like because they ran out of space, so then they dig more, so it's further down.
They hear a noise, and so the witch doctor's all like, "Don't open that." And
yeah, they were like, they heard a knocking or crying, and they were like, "Is somebody in there? Knock twice if you're in there." And they heard 2 knocks, and they're like, "All right, let's go,
let's go." And he's like, "No, don't open that door." And it's the girl from the beginning of the book, which we come to find out is the daughter of the witch doctor, and he tries to kill her. He tries to hit her with a rock, which I think also happens in the game. And then so Perna kills the witch doctor. This is where we find out that Yurima
sounds right to me.
She's the witch doctor's daughter. She went to college and could learn to read, and so she must be cursed. And so when she came back to be like, oh, the Western world is not so bad, they torture and rape her. And that is the beginning of the virus.
Unnecessary.
Yes. And the guys who raped her got sick because that's awful and they absolutely deserve to be turned into zombies. And so would she then be patient zero or would they be patient zero?
That's a good question.
Because did they get sick from her?
I don't know. I don't really know how this works because this is so what's the right word for this? Stupid.
Yeah. Because you definitely have to bite or scratch someone to become a zombie. So
I guess she would be patient zero then, right? If she turned those dudes into zombies.
Yeah.
With her vagina.
God.
Is that how it works, Mark? Huh?
So they bring back the villagers and Yermina and Dr. West locks everyone up.
Yeah.
And like kicks you out. And
yeah.
He's like, oh, well, the villagers, they come back to, that's what the thing, they come back and all the villagers have been locked up that they brought. And they're like, oh, well, they're sick.
Yeah. And they were like,
well,
no, they were
weird.
supposed to be immune.
Yeah.
So what is this guy doing to them?
And they're like, oh, well, that sounds right. So let's go back and get our team and leave everyone behind again. So they went to go get May and Jen. And then when they come back, actually, before they come back, Jen and Sam have to have the moment where Jen is obviously distraught from the worst night of her life. And Sam has to comfort her with his
wise words, because, you know, Sam's like, I've never been raped myself, but I've known plenty of women who have been raped. So, just give it time and you'll get over it. And I'm like, wow,
She's
Sam.
like, gee, Sam, I'm so glad you said it that way.
Wow, I never thought of it like that. And I was like, wow, instant vomit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel disgusting listening to this book. I had to pause it, and then I took a break because I was mad.
And this is where he's like, hey, when you think about zombies, think about it, they don't have souls.
It's okay to kill them.
It's okay to kill them.
Just you're doing them a favor, really. Ending their life.
So vomit session is over, and we go back to the lab. I like how they shared a moment with Cokes, too. They were like, do you want to drink a beverage? How about a Coca-Cola? Product placement, it sounds a little weird. Yeah. So they go back, and there's no guards, which should have been the first red flag. And you should never go in there then if they're like super guards and then there's all of a sudden no guards. That should be like, oh, they're all in a break at once. And they're like, this is weird. But we have to go in there because we need the vaccine. I'm not going into a zombie lab.
I was like, why is the guards going?
Hell no.
This is why I would die in a zombie apocalypse. Yeah.
I'd be like, I'd throw something to see if someone would come out and be like, hello.
Just throw a Molotov in there.
Yeah. They have their cell phones, so they call Dr. West and he's not answering his phone. Why didn't they call? They did try to call him beforehand and he wasn't answering his phone, but they're like, oh, we'll just show up anyways. Fine. Whatever. Everyone is undead. So the guards, the villagers, they're all zombies. And Sam gets attacked again. Dang it, Sam, pay attention. Put down here.
Well, he's not a cop or a martial artist person,
no.
So I guess it makes sense that he'd be the one that would get caught off guard.
Yermina, though, is not dead.
She's locked up.
She's locked up because they were gonna forcibly try the vaccine on her to test, to make sure that it works. And so luckily she's locked up because that's the only reason why she's not
a zombie,
torn to pieces.
Yeah.
And so Dr. West, they find he's been torn to pieces. But he did develop a vaccine. So they take that and they leave to go to the prison where Moen is like, all right, peace out. I've dropped you off.
Yeah.
Have fun. It's the zombie apocalypse. Your island is literally full of people tearing each other apart.
Moen will just take his pirate ship and leave.
Yeah, he's like, okay. So they got a phone call from White who says, come to section 7. I'll turn off the vents at that point and you have an hour to come find me in the tower, which seems sketch. And also Perna is happy that Jen is no longer a pacifist because of her quote unquote ordeal.
ordeal.
She's like, I would never wish that on anyone, but I'm happy that she is now an active
I'm
part of
happy
the
that
team.
she's killing people now. It makes me really happy that she went through it. And I'm like, what is this, Kill Bill? Ew.
And then Irma, or Irma, I'm pronouncing her name so wrong. They get in there and she's the first one to kill a zombie because she's like, well, I figured I have to eventually kill someone, so I might as well just get it over with. I'm like, no, you could have just
What?
let anyone else kill everyone.
Yeah, okay, whatever, girl.
And then so they're in the prison and there's a whole bunch of undead prisoners, and so they kill like 60 of them.
Yeah,
again.
holy crap. Like, it's a long chapter of killing.
That's a lot of people. They were killing like 2 or 3 at a time, and now we're at 60. And
You've
then
upgraded.
White calls all of them at once. All of their cell phones go off.
Conference call.
Why not just the one?
If he can see them on the TVs, you'd think you would know they were all together.
Yes.
But whatever, White.
All of the phones. And they're like, well, that's weird. So Perna answers because her phone is handy. They get into the gates, and surprise, surprise, there are people in the prison.
Wow.
And Jen,
That
once
are not
again,
undead?
gets taken. And they're like, oh, leave her behind with us and go do your thing. And they're like, oh, hell no. We did
Yeah.
that last time. It did
No.
not work out. So that's what I put, like, isn't White watching this? Like,
Yeah, you would think, right?
wouldn't he have been like, hey, by the way, there's prisoners in there, like, be careful.
This is what was most frustrating, right? Because even then they were like, "Oh, White sent you."
Like, why would you trust this voice on the radio? His wife's sick, so you know he has alternative motives. Like, why would you trust anyone at this point?
I guess because you don't have anything else to do.
You're like, it's my only chance off the island, I guess. So
you're gonna
have to
take
do it.
all these risks.
So dumb. Also, remember, we're in a prison and in a foreign country. Why does everyone speak English?
It's a good question. I have no idea.
Because a lot of the prisoners are like Australian or American. One of them is we meet Kevin.
What was weird about this was I remember they went to the police station and then Sam made a reference. He's like, I bet that they don't get a lot of crime here. Like, it might be just the tourist shoplifting or traffic accidents. It's so cush at this police station, not like New Orleans where they'd have people incarcerated all the time. So, and then they have this big prison.
Which is like the world's prison, I guess.
And I don't know.
That's not how prisons work. You kind of like, you have a country and the country runs that prison, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Plot holes. And the prisoners have no plan, and so they're like, well, what's your plan? And they're like, well, we got to go to this tower, and there is another prisoner who is like a fox, and his name is Kevin. He just kind of sneaks in there.
His name is Kevin.
I like how he's like, what's your name? And Perna's like, Perna. And he's like, well, that's weird. She's like, it's Australian. I'm also half Aboriginal. And it's like, you could have just said you were Australian, Perna. You don't need to let us know your whole life story. Yeah, Perna, I'm sure, is an Australian name. Like,
I mean,
his name is Kevin. Like, who cares?
Yeah, he's like, that's a new one for the books. I'm like, cool, all right.
So, again, the prisoners are like, we'll take you to White, and you can let us leave with you. And they, our team is like, no, we don't need you to take us. He's going to tell us where he is. Like, that's the whole point of this communication.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't answer his phone.
Yeah, they're like, we'll just call him. And then he didn't answer.
Sketch. I'm like, they really, honestly, so he's holding Jen, but you could have just shot the prisoner.
True.
They have all the guns. Just shoot them.
Yeah. So dumb.
Yeah,
so dumb.
They should have shot them. We should know, not trusting. We're not trusting. We're not trusting prisoners. Yeah. Like, out of everyone, you went to the police station. That did not work out well for you. You're in a prison that's so far not working out well. Just shoot them. Like, you are good shots. So
solved a lot of problems if they just shot them.
They're like, well, we'll just kill Jen. And they're like, well, if you do that, we'll kill you. But your friend will be dead. And it's like, yeah.
And then you'll be dead too.
So they decide to compromise and put their guns down and help each other.
Great. And now we're all friends.
Yes. After they've already just killed a bunch of zombies and the assholes at the police station. So sounds like, yeah, let's work together.
They seem trustworthy.
Kevin is like, well, then fine, I'll come with you so that way we can get a ride off this island. And they're like, fine, but you're not getting a gun. He's like, fine. And then he's like, oh, this prison doesn't look like the same inside as it does outside. Let me draw you a diagram. how does this prisoner have the freaking schematics of the prison?
I thought it was funny that they tried to call White after that,
Yeah.
and then they didn't get an answer, so they just looked at the CCTV cameras and they showed him the diagram.
They're like, we're going here.
This way is where we're going.
And it's the stupid thing. He draws the map with a knife and he's like, oh, we're not allowed to have pins in here because pins are dangerous.
But we can have a knife.
But we haven't.
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess you could make a pen too.
I'm sure if you took over the canteen, there has to be a pen in the canteen.
Yeah.
Like, how you...
I guarantee there's a pen at this prison.
No.
Stop being so dramatic.
Or you could draw it like in the dirt or in the mashed potatoes, or I don't know.
He just wanted to say that statement so bad.
So they decide to go to the tower, and so they're gonna go to each of these individual circle rooms. I like how there's a reason for them, but it's not important, so who cares? And they open the first door, they shoot a zombie, and then they decide to throw a shit ton of grenades in there, which would compromise the integrity of the room.
Yes, the building.
But instead it just blows up a bunch of zombies, but they're not all dead, and so they still have to fight them, and then they go to the next room and they do the same thing, and then all of a sudden you have zombies falling from the ceiling, because they land on Sam and May, I think. Yeah, they throw like all their grenades in there, which seemed really excessive because they have like a dozen grenades. I think you could have just thrown one or two in there and it would have been fine.
Yeah, seems overkill and really dumb.
Oh, yeah, May and Logan are attacked by zombies dropping from the balcony because they're just so hungry that they just decide to
just go for it.
And Perna has so far been the only one that has not been bitten, besides Jen and your Minna. I like how Logan then passes out and he's like, oh, I don't know where my gun is. Guess who has it?
Kevin.
They reach the elevator and Kevin like presses the button because he's been there before, obviously.
Yeah, he knows how to push the
and
elevator
they're like, what's going on? Something sounds weird. And there's gas and Kevin is standing in front of the one compartment that has the one lone gas mask.
Mm-hmm.
And so they should have just shot him in the first place.
Yeah, he puts on the mask. I like how he puts on the mask and they all can see it. And they're like, wait a second. And they have time.
They could have shot him.
They have time to take out Kevin, but they're too busy thinking like, why is Kevin wearing a gas mask? What is that smell and noise? Oh no, we're passing out now. And I'm like, oh God, you guys.
So this is where it gets more ridiculous.
Yes.
Kevin gives us his evil villain backstory. Like,
oh my God, I hate this.
The speech of like...
He's like, he works for the organization, which doesn't like have a name because it's super secret, and he works does he work for a bunch of rich people?
Yeah, that's what the organization is. It's like a bunch of rich people that want to do like chemical warfare.
The world burn.
And so, but they also need the vaccine so that they
can live.
And
it's so like, that's so evil villain, like dumb. Like we're just a bunch of rich people who want the world to be destroyed because for funsies, because we're rich and bored.
So he gives the story after Sam wakes up and they're all tied to chairs, and Kevin says this quote, which is, he was a little unimportant people discovering how the world really works and how they can do absolutely nothing about it. And so Kevin works for this organization, but he's really working for himself because he's a little peon and wants to feel important. So he tells us that there was they were doing research on a virus called pathogen K, and they needed the vaccine. I'm like, that's why I was like, K. Was it like potassium? They need the vaccine in order to sell the virus. So they searched the world for immune people. And that's why they did the blood drive. And they found them, and so they used them as a guinea pig. And White and Mullen are in on it. And Dr. West, he said, was kind of in on it, but
not really.
Not really.
What about Sinamoi? He just wanted money.
So they helped the four of them, like they led them through the town and all this stuff so they could get their equipment and life skills. I don't know.
Oh wait, no, it wasn't his name like not Kevin, it was like Sharon.
It's
like
Chiron, which is the guy that is the ferryman.
Yeah.
So Chiron.
The robot called him Karen. So I thought, he's like, my actual name is Karen. And I was like, okay.
Oh, that's perfect.
And then when I was looking up this book on the wiki, it said like Sharon or whatever. And I was like, oh, like the ferryman. It's
Chiron.
not like he's a Karen.
So we find out though that White is a real person because they've been talking to him the whole time and not White. And so why the other prisoners didn't know that is kind of weird. But because obviously it had to have a phone and some sort of technology to talk to all of them and see all the CCTV. So that's kind of weird. But so White does have a wife. She's infected. So like that's how they got him to play along because White was gonna nuke the island.
Yeah.
But they used his
ticket to nuke the island.
Wife as a hostage, as hope to not do that, and so now we finally meet. Charon says once they get off the island, he's going to sell the 4 of them to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
For their immunity. So yeah, because he's an entrepreneur and
because he's an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And of course, let me play along so you can sell me to someone else. Like,
yeah, please.
I'm not gonna participate in that. And then chapter 24 is called Uber Zombie.
Yeah, Uber Zombie.
So we meet White and we see his wife, and his wife is definitely dead. She's a zombie, and he is super in denial about it. And so they're like, hey, White, Charon here is the douchebag that infected your wife. They did it on purpose. And he's like, what?
No way.
Charon's like, don't listen to them. And so this is why you don't do your evil villain speech before you get off the island. You do it after. You're off the island. Sam knocks Charon down. He loses the vaccine. Jen runs to go pick it up, and then she gets shot. Poor Jen.
Probably the punching bag of this book.
Yeah, she's having the worst day ever. Then White takes the vaccine and like feeds it to his wife.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that is not how you do vaccines. Like, there are reasons why it's injected into you because you have stomach acid that will destroy whatever you're eating. Yeah, science
doesn't exist in this world.
No.
Just voodoo.
That you do, bitch. And so she becomes the Uber zombie and breaks out and gets all muscly and she charges.
She's the final boss.
She's the Uber boss. She charges at Charon, who shoots her a bunch of times, and then he does this, and he like moves out of the way real fast as she falls off the building.
Onto an electric fence.
Yeah, that fall up in the highest tower that would have killed her anyway. We didn't need that
extra. And then she got impaled. And then she got lit on fire, and then she exploded.
And then the very last page is like, oh, there's a helicopter in the distance, and Charon's like, you're coming with me. And they all get on the helicopter, except for Jen, who's dead.
Because she's dead.
Yeah.
So, and then that's the end of the book.
Dun, dun, dun. Now you know and you don't have to read it.
That was garbage. It was hot, hot garbage.
I do have to give him credit for putting that many things into a 330-page book because that is not easy because that is a lot of locations and a lot of people. But there's a lot of things wrong with this book and just play the game.
Just play the game. The game is a lot better. At least I think so. I don't remember.
I know we said this at the beginning, but we do not recommend reading this book.
No.
Before or after the game.
Just don't bother with it.
Because the game is definitely more enjoyable than this book.
A lot of people hate the game, but I don't think that's fair. I think the game's actually pretty good.
And it has actual character development, and you see morality with the people at the church versus the people at the police station. So, there's a lot of things that we missed in development and things that were unnecessary. And
how many pages was this?
330 something.
So, because my Goodreads account... Oh, by the way, we have a Goodreads book club. If you guys don't know, you should join it to see what's up. But my Goodreads account is just updated with the books we read on this podcast. So, I have the stats of the podcast. Guess what the longest book we read was?
This one?
No. Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Oh.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey was the longest book we read for this book club this year at 381 pages. The shortest book... Guess which one that one is?
Well, it's not Uncharted.
Nope. It's Far Cry Absolution
that was
at
kind of
256 pages. Was the shortest book we read for this podcast. It was also the least popular book we read for this
I like
podcast.
that book.
Far Cry Absolution, only 890 people have that shelved. The most popular book.
Well, I mean that came out a lot later than some of the other books too.
Yeah, it did. Guess what the most popular book was?
Please don't tell me this one.
Mass Effect.
Oh, okay.
The very first one we read, the Mass Effect
I think
Revelations. Yeah,
That's also been out longer than a lot of them.
18,000 people have this shelved.
There you go.
Mass Effect's also probably more popular than Far Cry 5.
So what are we reading next? We start the 2022 off with
Five Nights at Freddy's: The Silver Eyes by Scott Cawthon and Kira Breed Risley.
It's a #1 New York Times bestseller.
Wow.
And it's from Scholastic.
Yeah, it's
so-
from Scholastic. It's a middle grade novel that you get like Scholastic book fairs. But there are like 3 in the main series and a bunch of novellas. So we're reading the first one ever written.
The Silver Eyes.
The Silver Eyes.
We'll
yeah, we'll see ya
next
2
time.
horror in a row. Look at us.
Yeah.
Look at us.